Alright, so I got the clip all trimmed, fitted up here. I got it all jigged in place. I checked corner to corner to corner to corner to corner squareness. Everything looks good. It's right on the money. I got my front cross member jig here, keeping the front end exactly where I want it. I've got some square tubing clamped to the top of the frame to keep this straight on top. I got angle iron clamped on this side to keep it straight on the sides. Everything is lining up perfect. I got it clamped a whole bunch of places, so I think it's ready to start tacking and sticking this thing together. So I got the welder on here. Let's give her a go. What I'm going to do now is take some soapstone and I'm going to stitch weld this boxing plate every 1 inch and then leave an inch gap and then 1 inch and an inch gap. So I'm going to lay that all out now, and it'll be the same on both sides. So I'll lay that out. Everything looks good, so I'm going to keep tacking. Laid out my stitch welds here. So I got it all welded up here. On the top anyways, I got to flip the frame over and do the bottom. I got to pie cut the rails. Are 5 inches wide at the back, so I'm going to do a pie cut on the side and drag the bottom up. But I've got it all, got the crossbar welded back together, and I got the stitch welds done on it here. Just got to hit it with a grinder and clean everything up. Alright, so I got the front frame clip all welded on now. I got to flip the frame to do the bottom half of it, but for now I'm going to concentrate on the back. I'm going to re-clip the rear end because this is 2x4 frame rails and it doesn't need to be this thick. I'm going to cut it down to 2x3, but I'm also going to extend the frame for the longer style original box I'm going to be putting on it. Got some new rails. Been making a connection here and they're going to come out. I'm going to leave them long because I'm not sure what I'm going to do where the box ends, if I'm going to make a bumper or whatever, but I'm going to go at about 57 inches, cut them off here, and have a temporary rear cross member because I'm not sure exactly where I want that to be either. This came out good. This is all ground down here, all fitted in good. I shimmed up my body mounts to clear the top of the frame where the overlap is here. The radiator fits in here nice behind the cross member where I want it to be. I'll trim the radiator down, make some mounts for it when I get to that stage, but the radiator will sit behind the front cross member, and then the grill shell will straddle the cross member, and the radiator will be behind it like this, and tie into the hood and whatnot. So it's coming together pretty good. Alright, so I got the rear end ready to cut off. I cut these extra pieces of tubing, the old shock mount. I cut this out of here. I'm going to save this in case I want to reuse it. But I got my lines laid out on the frame here, and I'm basically going to cut it off, and then we'll add the new rails on. They're going to be the same dimension, just going to be about 16 inches longer and an inch shorter, so I won't need the C-notch here. I shouldn't need the C-notch, it should just be fine. So let's go ahead and cut it off. Here we go. Ta-da! Bam! Straighten these cuts up just a little bit with a grinder. We'll be good to go. So what's going to happen, the new rails are 2x3, they're going to butt right up here. Get welded on here, and then I'll make a transition piece to go from 4 to 3, and then we'll put some gussets on, or fish plates on the outside of both the inside and the outer side of the butt joint here. Make a temporary rear cross member, and we'll be good to go. I wanted to lay these rear rails out on the back of the frame before I cut it off, but I jumped the gun and cut it off ahead of time. So I'm still doing that, but I'm laying them out on the stub frame here. So I got everything squared up, leveled up, and I'm going to tack this angle iron across this would be the rear of the frame. I'm going to tack this across the back for a temporary rear cross member. The front's going to remain loose so I can dial it in here to the stub. So I'm going to go ahead and get this tacked up, and then I got to make some tabs to put in here, and I'll hang this rear section up here. Alright, I got that done. I'm going to go ahead and going to cut some metal tabs. They're going to be plug welded to the existing stub here. They're going to stick out into the new tubing. That way I can, on this top joint, I can plug weld and have a reinforcing plate on the inside. The sides will be butt welded, ground down, and then there'll be fish plates on both sides of the rail here. So I'll go ahead and get these installed. Alright, so what I did is I made these tabs here that are that slide inside the frame 1.5 inches and outside 1.5 inches. And this hole here I've drilled and countersunk, and there's another one on this clamp. I'm going to plug weld this tab in here, and this will give me reinforcement for this top joint, and also give me a way to slide these new rails on here and have them sit perfectly level and help locate them. So go ahead and tack these on. Alright, so I got to do some modifications down here. This main rail comes back into here, and then here's the up rail. The frame's upside down now. So this is going to be in the way of my new spring, because my wheelbase, my new spring has got to land right around in here, and the end of this frame rail is in the way. So what I'm going to do is cut this across here, cut down into here at a 45 or whatever degree angle this is to the new tie-in point. Cut this whole corner of this out, bring flat stock and box it all in. So this will end up being an angled cut down here. All this material will be gone. Then my new spring perch can weld into that 45 or whatever it is later, and it'll give me the right length for my leaf spring. Oh, look at that. Nice. Perfect. Perfect. I'll just take a piece of flat stock and box all this back in and roll it down on here. That's money right there. Money. While I'm at it, I had to cut this in the field to clear the drive shaft back in the day, and this is the only way I could do it was just hack it and beat it. So I'm going to trim this back at an angle, trim this out, then pick a piece of flat stock and make a nice piece in here, weld all this up too. I'll probably do that while this is upside down because it's easier. So I got this all trimmed off here, and I've made a gusset piece. This gusset piece is going to fill up the hole, and down here this will sandwich on the frame tail. I'm just going to use this piece for a demonstration with the 2x3 rail. Will sit flush, and then this piece will weld on and overlap it. So what I'm going to do is hold this rail up and tack these pieces on both sides, and then I'll be able to have it ready for the frame stub rear section to go on. Painted it threw a little paint on, so less chance of rust inside the tube. It's a little bit of rattle can action. Alrighty then. What I'm gonna do, just hold this up roughly in a position. I trimmed the edges off flush, and this is a factory edge, so it should be pretty square. But I'm just going to tack it, and then when I actually install the rails on the other side, I'll be able to finesse the thing into shape with a hammer and a clamp. We'll get it close for now. Nice. Gonna work out perfect. I'm just gonna leave it tacked for now until I fit the rails up, then I'll flip it back over and weld it all up. But before I put the rails on, the rear rails on, I think I want to cut the front rails where they were hanging below the frame. I think I want to do that now. There we go. There's one side trimmed. I can weld it up and this will be all flush on this side. So the frame will go nice and flat, then transition down to the 3-inch reveal there. I'm going to slowly weld this up because I don't want it to warp. So I'm going to go over here and cut this other side and get that fitted up. So we'll be back when that's all cut and tacked together. But this is going to work out perfect. I got a 1/2-inch overlap back here for a little bit of gusset action. Got my full inside boxing plate. I'll weld this up solid and grind this down out here. And then I'll stitch weld the inside. This will be perfect. Plenty strong enough. Alright, got the frame all welded up. My whole front clip is complete. It's ground down on both sides. The crossmember repair is ground down. When I flip it over, I'll box the front of this. But I also took advantage of the upside down action here and cut out this K-member. I had butchered the top of it, or the bottom of it, to clear the drive shaft. I cut it out nice and welded in this plate. I also got my dogleg kickdowns here, or kickups, all ground down and ready to receive the rear rails. I'm going to go ahead and get the frame flipped over, set back up level, and then we'll take the rear rails and pick them up and start setting them on here. So let's do that. Alright, here's the rear rails installed. Setting up the place here. I've got the chassis, I got the frame sitting as level as I can on jack stands. My floor is all sloped in here, it pitches to the center of the building. So what I've done is line this way. I've got the frame as level as I can make it, and then this way I've got it consistent. It pitches just a little bit, but the pitch is consistent the whole way. So what I'll do is I know where it references on the lines on the bubble here. I can check all my levels all the way down, and then when I get to these rails, the front's where it's going to be, because the way the shiplap pieces are, the fronts are going to stay, so I can adjust my rear tails up and down to get parallel to the rest of the chassis. So first thing I'm going to do is, this looks pretty good eyeballing it. I'm going to measure corner to corner and see to make sure that the rails aren't askew one way or the other. Grab on this corner here. I've got 71 71 1/8. Here I've got 71. Holy crap, 71 1/8, right on the freaking money. Try doing that again. That means this rear clip is completely parallel to itself because the dimensions add up. So what I'm going to do now is check the level. See how I look here. Get my level on my frame first. Going across this way. I'm just touching the inside of the bubble. Here on this, same thing, just touching the inside of the bubble. So I'm going to come out here, see how the rails look out here. Alright, I'm center of the bubble. So if I pick this up, the other way. The driver's side rail has got to go up about 1/4 inch. So let me check what we got this way for level this way. I think it's like within less than a 1/16. It's super, super close. So I think I'm going to do, because this is square now, and this rail's real right on the money, I'm going to go ahead and tack it. I'm going to tack it topping 3 of these corners and try to lock this rail in so it can't shift and it can't go up and down, and then I'll adjust that one. I'm going to go ahead and tack this right here. That corner, this corner, and then this corner here. That should keep the thing from moving. Yep, we're still touching our needle there. Yep. Let me check my corner dimension real fast. 71 1/8, right on the money. All right. Let me put one more tack in the other opposite corner here. I'll lock this guy in, almost touching the inside line. Let me stick this up just a little bit more. That's real close. Alright, this way it's touching the inside line. So it's got to go this way to match. Touching the inside line, perfect. I'm calling it. Let's hit it. Just gonna push this down just a touch because of my tab. Before I hit that bottom, let me make sure. Yep. Yes, sir. Alright, so when I originally built this truck, I built a custom shortened box, and I just kind of picked my rear wheel dimension to be centered in the box. And originally the wheelbase, the center line of the axle was 19 inches from the front of the frame here. But now I'm going to be running the original Model A box, and it's got the fender loop extensions where the rear fenders are bolt on, so I'm going to line the wheel well up with the tire. And I measured the box, so it works out roughly about 24 inches, so the new axle center line is going to be here instead of 19, so I'm extending the wheelbase 5 inches to the rear, coupled with the 7 inches of bringing the front axle back from the front frame. So I'm actually losing 2 inches of wheelbase, but I'm moving both of them back on the truck. So the long Model A box, the original style box, is 53 inches long, and we'll say right from the edge there roughly. So 53 inches is where the box would stop, and I left 6 inches extra on the back of this because I don't know what I want to do to finish off these frame rails. If I want to round them off with a tube like a spreader bar, or if I want to build some kind of bumper brackets and run a rear bumper, or I might run a trailer hitch, because once in a while I tow trailers around with these things. So I'm leaving it long now. I'm just going to tack another piece of angle iron so this doesn't flex around, and an angle brace to keep these parallel. But for now, I won't do anything else until I get the rear release springs and set the box on here so I can see exactly where the wheel well is going to lay out. Then I can set up my spring perches, set the axle up, and then I can figure out where I want to have a cross member for the shock absorbers. So I'll have in here somewhere a cross member for that. And then I've got a gas tank that sits down in the frame behind the rear end. There'll be brackets for that. And then I'll figure out the battery goes ahead of the rear end on this side. And I used to have a storage box on the other side, which I might put back. We'll see. So let me go ahead and get this welded up some more, and I'll keep checking it as I go. But I think we're in the home stretch now. You can see here I plug welded. I got a plate. The plate inside is plug welded here, and then over here on the other side. And then when I grind this down, there's going to be a fish plate with a curved edge here welded on over this on the inside and the outside. So do that tomorrow, and then just grind everything down, and I'll wrap this up for now. And I mocked up a little bit of front end action here with the dropped axle I'm going to be using, and the Posey spring. I got the grill shell set on here, which will be, the truck's channeled, so the grill shell will go down 4 inches when I get laying the sheet metal out. But it's just kind of sitting here now. It's higher than it's going to be, with a load on it, because the engine's going to weigh everything down and the weight of the cab. But that's how it's going to be looking. More standard front end look than the Suicide front end. It's back to a traditional front end, and you can see everything's all tied in here. Still got to box the back of the cross member in, but and here's the kick up. I've got the tire mocked up where the rear axle is going to be. This is going to be an on and off project in between some other things I'm working on, so stay tuned for updates, and we'll see how long it takes to put it back together. If you like builds like this, I'm going to be doing a lot more projects. I've got another Model A truck I'm working on. I got an 80 Dodge project I'm going to be working on, so if you like construction projects like this, where I'm going to build some hot rods and fix some cars and restore some trucks, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Thanks. This freaking thing on? Hello? Oh, it is. Woo! Look, what happened? What the hell here? So many things reads one way, one the other. Ah, nice. The thing reads freaking crooked. Let me check this again then. Crap!